Are DJs not good dancers? Stay with me now. Or do you guys just have the restraint of a Shaolin monk? Because the beats is fire. Everybody dancing. The spot is lit. Maybe because you good. But how y'all stay so stoic and just like, yo, I'm right here, son.
I mean, they dance and jig when they on stage. I think especially females. I think it's more acceptable for females to be able to dance whenever they're DJing. Obviously, you have males that will do it too. I think especially in hip hop too, his culture is just be a hard rock, just like you said, just have the ear on and just kind of do this. But I feel like with the younger generation too, their music is turn up style, heavy hitting, aggressive type stuff. They'll do a little bit more dancing. I feel like you gotta just have such situational awareness and analyze the situation, keep such small changes and stuff when you're a DJ, that if you're just dancing, moving around and stuff, it's easy to like lose track of that stuff. I know for myself, I really don't dance at all. I'm the type to just sit back in a corner and listen to shit, watch how different people react and interact with music. But again, that also comes from me not really doing anything in a club if I wasn't a DJ. So I'm just posted up in the back being like, okay, how do I get people to act like this with my music? If it was like a melody or a rhythm or a certain drum sound or something that had people sort of reacting to that, sitting there just basically picking it apart, being like, okay, like what's really making people move to this, and how can I? And a lot of that too comes from sampling, right? Because when you're sampling, you're basically just like stealing some hot shit that somebody else already made. So my mentality is always just like, okay, like what can I steal that really seems like it's leaving an emotional impact on its listeners, And so once you isolate that, it's just like, okay, it's this particular set of notes, right? Or it's this rhythm that has everybody dancing, So that's the type of shit that I pay attention to. But yeah, I mean, my personality is one of just like, being withdrawn, in a corner, not really getting down like that. There are definitely DJs that dance and move around like that. But I feel like there's more in like the EDM space a little bit more than like the hip hop space. You ain't got the motherfucker like Steve Aoki. He'd be like throwing cakes in the crowd and shit. So you really don't do that with hip hop DJs.
Yeah, you're right. Call me DJ Urkel. I would drop something so hot. I'd be like, yo, did I do that? I'm telling you, I'd be like, yo, y'all see that? Yo, I'd be dancing. I am a dancer though. So to your point.
Is there anything better than a trip getting ready? Nope. For a long journey where our podcast released a new app and searching for a fade fiend, new fixation. Giving this a subscribe is the same sensation. Started with the day ones, they gave us fuel to support the season. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here for a reason. Notification bells, have some friends, all to let you know. Check your Bluetooth, connect, talking with Donato.
Welcome in, everyone. Episode 176, Pack a Lunch for this one with our guest, Haris Qureshi. Yo, I'm going to tell you, the coolest dudes always rock the bucket hat. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Haris?
Yeah, man. I'm not going to say the sponsor or who gave me the bucket hat for free because they don't sponsor me. But I picked this up last South by, not this year's, but last year's South by. Yeah, rocking tough ever since. I ain't gonna lie. The best stuff is always free.
I love bucket hats, man. I don't get enough of them. I'm on this vibe right now. I cock the front up sometimes.
Right.
I always, man, when I wear a bucket hat, I always pull it too low. That's my problem. Like I'm trying to hide from the world. Like y'all see me, but y'all don't even really see me.
You try to catch some shade. You feel me?
That's what it's for, man. It's beautiful. I'm a big LL Cool J fan too, so I'm bad. That can't go.
They're not ready to see me with the Kango bucket, man. That's gonna be scary.
I tell you, man. Good thing I don't own a red one. If I had a red, man, I'd be walking around with my shirt off, fat dookie chain all the time. Right. Y'all wouldn't even be able to contain me. Y'all be like, yo, dude, you biting.
LL Don J. Okay.
That's it, man. That's what I would do. Yo, Haris, thank you for joining us today, man. I know this is going to be hot. Really looking forward to it. We're going to get into all. Listeners, he said everything is on the table. We could talk about it all. Because I heard there was this one time in Vegas. It was a Friday night. Some handcuffs was involved. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that at the end. Yo, I want to start there. You ever been to Las Vegas?
Yeah, for sure.
What do you like most about Las Vegas?
Free drinks.
Wait, hold on. I thought you only get the free drinks when you're gambling, unless you got a Haris Qureshi.
You can really just be in the casino and no one's really tripping. Especially if you move around. I'm not really the type to gamble that much. I'm not. my little brother, he did a lot of the gambling stuff and made a lot of money. I always lose money gambling, so I'm not like a big gambling head. But I'll go in with like a little hundo and not be afraid to lose it. Because if I drink $100 worth of alcohol that I would have spent, in my hometown, then I mean it's kind of like a wash,
Yep.
Of it. Hey, and now they got the recreational cannabis too, so it's a jolly good time for everybody.
It has been a while since I've been there, but yeah, you're right where I'm at, bro. 100 to 150, that's all I do. I'm small time. I'm not a gambler, but okay. What's your game? What will you pop a squat at? Where do you lay it down at?
Probably cards like blackjack, poker, shit like that. I don't do slots. Slots are fucking stupid.
No, don't even waste your time explaining slots to me, anybody, because I'm not interested.
Yeah, because it's just not, it's like so electronic, so old school. It's like, you get the dopamine hit when you win, but it's like the process. I feel like the process is where you really have fun as far as like the game. Like, winning is cool, obviously, but I feel like when you work for it, it's not really work, right? But when there's a process involved with it. And there's like actual human interaction. It just feels a lot more. I'm not gonna say organic or authentic because that's not really an accurate word to describe, organized gambling. But just feels more fun. With the machine, it's just like, man, I could go to a game room off fucking Runberg and do that.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, what's the difference?
And how sexy can you feel, Harris, if you got grandmama right here? I mean, how sexy? This Vegas, baby.
The class is just depressing. Like,
what are you
doing? I can go to Dave and Buster's or Chuck E. Cheese and play slots.
Thank you. I'm good.
With it.
I'm good. I want to be. Here's what I'm telling you about. It's Vegas, so I want to be around sexy. And if I'm not around sexy, I want to be around someone that looks like they are the degenerate Vegas type. Especially if I'm winning, I could be like, yo. I just took that fool's car. Look at him. He looked like he about to go jump off a bridge. I took his last bit of money. His wife don't know about that. Like I want that. I want some leather jacket.
Someone's day going bad. I feel.
Yeah. I want that leather jacket dude who looked like he got something crazy going on. Like he just stole this money from somebody. He gambling in a way.
Now, if you can't make someone take off their ring and throw it in
no doubt.
You know what I'm saying? Then that shit ain't for me. I feel that.
And then I want some nerd dude to come plop it down. Look like he's some accountant counting cards cat. Yeah. But I want to win, so I can be like, yo, you counting, and I'm still spanking that ass. That's what I want.
You said the heart wins.
That's what I want. I want to take. I want him to go back to the drawing board and be like, I'm not so sure what happened there. I had to. Right. I counted 62, and I don't know 63.
There was a 38% chance that he could have won. Oh, God damn it.
Yeah, man, that guy's he's hilarious. How did he do that? So, all right, I gotta know this then. I'm about to give you my jet. I'm gonna gas it up, and I'm gonna let you go to Vegas right now. But I'll also tell you, Harris, you can go anywhere in the world. Where are you going? Vegas?
Definitely not Vegas for sure. Vegas is cool, but the thing is, it's like, Victor Wembanyama, he actually had a very accurate quote for me when he described, because, they got the summer league in Vegas, right? So that was the first time we were going to Vegas. And he was like, it's like a dystopia, And I feel like it's very accurate because it's like the town of Vegas, right, is built in a desert. It really shouldn't exist. It's all man-made, right? Essentially for like, criminal mobs and gambling, So it's just like, when you talk about like culture, when you talk about, it's just like, what culture does Vegas have besides just taking people's money? Don't get me wrong, Vegas is fun, but I've never gone to Vegas like one deep, you know what I'm saying, like of my own accord, but that being my end destination, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have a problem with Vegas, but it's just like I'm only going there if my homies are going. Like I'm not going there one deep. So it's like, I would rather go to like LA, New York, Miami, Toronto, London, some shit like that.
Yeah. Okay. I like that you were going to go. I was hoping you'd go other places, but I knew it. I think I knew the answer to that. I'm glad we should have put some money on it, but I'm glad, man. See, that's why you here, because you ain't the typical. I think that would be pretty nose on. He wanted me to go to Vegas. I'll just go to Vegas. Nah, son. A jet gassed up. Come on, man, you gotta move.
Yeah, no, I mean, Vegas ain't bad, but it's just like there's other shit to do that's more memorable. It's like how many times can you lose money in a casino or win money in a casino? You know what I'm saying? Like the thing is, I feel like a lot of like the super rich people, right, and like athletes and stuff like that, they get addicted to Vegas because they need that dopamine hit that comes with gambling large amounts. But it's like you said I had a private jet. You didn't say I got like $1 million bankroll, you know what I'm saying? Or, 5 million or whatever.
Agreed.
So if it's my own money, I'm still putting up. It's like, I mean, at the same time, Vegas has got good food. Like I said, they got the recreational cannabis now. They got fun stuff to do, but at the same time, it's the vibe of Vegas is like a little bit different than like a lot of other cities where there's actually stuff to do besides just sit in a casino and be a degenerate, which isn't a problem. But that's just like it's a desert too, so it's like you can't really do shit outside. It's like you can hang out on the strip when it's not summer. But it's like, what you really doing? Even Fremont Street is cool, but it's like, what's there to really do? Yeah.
No, you didn't disappoint there, sir. So let's give everybody a little bit of background here. Yo, Mr. Q, where you from, man? We got some people a little bit of here sprinkled there. You gonna have your followers, you got my followers.
Yeah.
Where you from, man?
This is always a hot topic. So my pops went to A&M. Well, they're from Pakistan, and my mom and dad are both from Pakistan, but my grandparents are from different parts of India. My mom's side is from Punjab.
Yeah.
No, she's from my mom's side is from Kashmir, and my pop's side is from Punjab. So basically, when the British left after World War II, right, because Hitler bombed the shit out of them, so they were like, all right, well, we don't got the money to be in India anymore. We got to worry about our own shit, so we're getting the fuck out of here. So they literally left in like a week, right? And they didn't really care about trying to figure out how to appease the people there. Or they did just want to like, cause havoc or whatever and make them be like, all right, we're going to pit these fools against each other so that, we don't have to worry about them for a while. So what they did was they split up India into 3 separate parts, right? They were just like, all right, the middle of this is like mostly the Hindu part. We're going to call this India. And, the Muslims, they want their own country. So we're going to make them Pakistan. We're going to make the East and West parts, they mostly Muslim. We're going to call that shit East and West Pakistan, even though East Pakistan, right, they were the Bangladeshis, so they had their own language and, their own culture and shit. They were like very separate from the other part of Pakistan, let alone India. Mm-hmm. And so my folks, they was Muslims that was in the parts of India. So the main parts of India that got split in half were Punjab and Kashmir, right? And in Kashmir, obviously, you still have like a lot of issues that go on today. So my grandparents, they left their homelands to go to what became, West Pakistan. So fun fact, I can't actually go back to like where my grandparents are from because, India, if your parents or your grandparents are from Pakistan, they make it like super difficult. Or if you yourself were once a Pakistani citizen, they make it like extremely difficult to go there. Wow. My pops and my little brother, they've tried to go there. There was so much paperwork to fill out that they were just like, it's not even worth it. Yeah. So, but yeah, I was born here. I was born in Bryan, Texas. My pops went to A&M out in College Station. They moved from there when I was like 2 or 3. My pops was like getting his master's. And so then we moved up to Dallas and then moved here when I was in like 1st grade. Mm-hmm. Grew up mostly in like the country burbs and like Round Rock and Dripping Springs. And then when I graduated high school, we lived in Round Rock for most of my childhood. And then high school, my folks moved out to Dripping Springs. Yeah. After 9/11. So that was a really interesting, amusing time. Learned a lot about small town America.
I bet.
So that was interesting. Definitely informed a lot of my opinions about sort of the downsides of America. Yeah. Even though it was like a relatively affluent place. Then I graduated high school. I was just like, I was going to UT after I graduated high school. So I did like one summer because basically the program that got into UT, like, because, I'm sure they still have it now, but it's like the top 10 rule where like if you're in the top 10%, you can go to any public university in Texas that you get accepted into. I wasn't in the top 10%, so they let me in when I applied, but they were like, you got to join like immediately. You got to start classes like immediately after you graduate. And I really wasn't doing anything, you know. So, and you know, it's my hometown essentially, right? It's like just the road for me. So I was just like, all right, cool. So I did like one summer of driving from my folks' place out in Dripping Springs to campus. That didn't go too well. I was like, yeah, it's my first time experiencing like MOPAC traffic every day, rush hour traffic every day. Because I was an idiot, right? Because my folks had never gone to university here, so I didn't really have any context, right? So I'm just like, okay, well, you know, I'm gonna do my classes to go up there in the morning and then come back, you know, during the evening, like 3 to 5 time. Like, unfortunately, that was when I found out about rush hour traffic, and so I did that one summer. I was like, yeah, I can't live in Drip no more. I was like, this is not the move. So then I moved to the east side because it was super cheap and super affordable compared to every other part of Austin, and I pretty much lived here ever since. You know, I've lived in other places too. When I graduated from college, well, I dropped out of college for a little bit, and then when I came back and graduated, I moved to San Antonio for a year, but then ended up moving back to Austin. Stayed here for like a year, then moved out to the West Coast, but I ended up moving back to Austin. So yeah, I've been here for most of my life for sure.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, you actually went to California, but then you left. Well, sorry, you said West Coast, but you went to the West Coast.
I was mostly Cali for sure.
Okay, and then you came back. So yeah, you came back before the rush. What was the draw to come back? Just because of the hometown, or even then it was the mass exodus from California to come here?
Basically, what happened was my little brother, he got a job at like a coding boot camp, right? And so when I graduated, I had a few job offers. I had 2 job offers, actually, not just a few. It was a couple, to be more precise. One was, you know, like the thermostat company Nest, like the little one that you can control with your phone or whatever.
Yeah.
This was before they got bought by Google. And so I could either do tech support for them, right? Like some call center they had. It was like through a temp agency or something. I forget exactly, but that was like the role. And the other role was, you know, one of my best friends who, you know, we were doing music together. And so he had moved to San Antonio to work at another one of my friend's family businesses. So my friend who was, you know, we had gone to Dripping Springs High School together, and he was like in the top 10. He was like literally like, you know, whatever. He was like 5th in our class or whatever. And so he ended up going to Princeton, right? But then when he graduated, he didn't really get a job. So then he moved back, and it turned out that his grandparents were actually really well off in San Antonio, and they owned like the local, you know how we got like straight music in Austin?
Yeah.
They basically owned Alamo Music, which is like the straight music equivalent in San Antonio. And so my homie was just like, shit, man. He's like, just come down here. Like, you know, if you just stay down here, you're going to eventually get a job just working with us, you know? And I was like, okay, well, you know, I was super passionate about music. You know, I'd been making beats for a long time. That's actually what I dropped out of college to do. So I was just like, okay, well, shit, let me move down here. I was like, you know, you always hear that you got to leave your hometown to make it, you know? And so while we were doing cool stuff in Austin, you know, San Antonio growing up always seemed like the big city. You know, they had the theme parks, they had, you know, the river walk or whatever, you know, just things that seemed sort of like they had the sports team, right? So they seemed very big city-esque. And then when I got down there, I realized San Antonio is really not a big city. There really ain't shit going on there compared to downtown Austin. And I wasn't really getting paid that much once I started getting paid. So I ended up taking $20 an hour to come back to Austin and work at a tech support spot, even though I swore that I would never do call center stuff again because the shit was super soul killing. This spot was also super soul killing. It was like a cybersecurity company by the domain. You know, it was $20 an hour, which I thought made me rich at the time, but it was just insanely stressful, you know, because like basically what I was doing was, you know, different company. It was like B2B, right? So like different, you know, companies would call and say, hey, you know, my Wi-Fi is down, and then we gotta try to troubleshoot that shit like remotely. And the thing was, these are like, you know, enterprise corporate clients, so I can't just hang up on them. You know, I have to like fucking figure the shit out. So I'd be on the phone with them all day, going through computer shit. You know, it was like super stressful because it's like it's already stressful to troubleshoot some shit. Now imagine you're not even there in person. You know.
Yep.
So then, you know, I'd be complaining to my folks all the time about how stressful the job was, and my little brother at the time, he had joined like a coding boot camp out in the Bay, and so they had hired him on, and so he became like the director of product or some shit like that. So they're like, shit, you just leave your job and go out to the Bay and learn how to code. And I was like, all right. I was like, I hate my fucking job. So eventually they told me enough, and I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. So I moved out to the Bay for a year. Joined their little boot camp thing. It was cool because San Francisco is definitely, a lot more dense than most of Austin. So it was, very Manhattan vibes, downtown Austin vibes.
No doubt. Y'all even had a Chinatown out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was great. That was my first time really living in a big city, was living in San Francisco. Because, it was like, obviously Austin's grown a lot, but I never lived downtown. I never even lived on campus. I lived on West Campus for like one semester, but that wasn't at a dorm. It was just like a little shoddy apartment complex where I was paying like $750 for like a 1-bedroom or whatever. Yeah. So, in San Francisco, it's like, I'm paying $900 for like a bunk bed, right? And like, it's not even like, we don't even have a bath. Like, we got shared bathrooms with the whole floor. We got a shared kitchen in the whole building. And this one Asian chick, she would cook fish every weekend and just make the whole building stink like fish. There was no AC or heating, right? So it's just like whatever the window is, that's your ventilation. And our shit was located like right next to an alley that had no ventilation. So like to cool down, I would just have to take showers and shit. And I didn't really end up getting a job out there after the boot camp, right? So I had like a lease for 6 months. Once the 6-month lease expired, I was just like, oh, I don't have a job out here, and I'm not about to pay $900 to deal with it, So I basically just crashed on my homie's couch in Denver until I ended up getting a job, and the job ended up being back in Austin. So that was the main reason. I actually, at the time, I was telling all my friends whenever I would come back to Austin, like, yeah, fuck Austin, I'm not moving back here unless I'm okay. Yada, yada, yada. I ended up taking a job for $60K, which I mean is a little bit less than $100K, but it beats the fuck out of $0K. Yep. And yeah, I mean, pretty much been back here ever since. The shit's definitely grown over as far as the city, right? The city's definitely grown a lot over time. And growing up here, it always felt like you had to leave to make it, right? You would have to go to New York or LA or Houston, especially in the hip hop scene, right? It always felt like we were always in Houston's shadow. So it's like, okay, if you got to move to Houston or New York or LA. And the city of Austin's grown a lot since then. So, the dream has always been that you didn't have to leave Austin to make it. And so if that means that it turns into a big city with real opportunities, things are always going to have to be sacrificed, and there's always going to have to be changes. So kind of just is what it is. But yeah, that's the reason why I've stayed in Austin.
Let's go back. I always like to get a little of that background and tell us the things that have sprung you forward. In high school, were you voted anything? Most likely to what were you? Were you close to being voted anything?
For high school, it was like, I did my first semester of high school at McNeil because I grew up in Round Rock, Brushy Creek area. So that was like a relatively larger, urban school, definitely relatively diverse. When I moved to, but I only did one semester there, So when I moved down to Dripping Springs, that was like, way smaller, way less diverse, right? Like not really any Black or Asian people there. A few Hispanics here and there, but primarily it was, people of European descent. So there, right, I stuck out like a sore thumb. Cats are asking me like, hey, are you the exchange student? Where are you from? And I'm like, dude, I'm from Round Rock. Like, I'm literally from a place that has an HEB, bro. Y'all don't even have an HEB. Like, why? Yeah. Why are y'all all trying to big city me? Like I'm from a bigger town than y'all are. So, but it definitely, I'm not gonna say like I felt like I was famous out there, but it definitely taught me like how to handle people looking at you and talking about you all the time. So yeah, I mean, they did like vote me like I think like junior year homecoming Duke or whatever, and like I think senior year class clown. But at the same time, it was just like, you kind of feel like as the brown person with like a foreign name there that all the shit is kind of just like a joke and not really to be taken seriously, So I think it also taught me a little bit about perspective and just like, but yeah, I mean, I was pretty popular for sure. I was always cracking jokes. I'm a little bit more serious now than I was as a youngster. As a kid, I was always talking shit. Also I think just trying to deal with my own feelings and trying to figure them out, you know. And so I would just, you know, be a smart ass kid essentially. You know, and I did get out of my shell a little bit, you know, just being around people. And once they saw my personality, they kind of, you know, accepted me. But, you know, before that, like my first semester there in Drip, I was like hella quiet, didn't talk to nobody. I was in the back of the class. I'm just like, man, fuck this country shit. Like, you know, it's like high school is next to a fucking feed store and a tractor store. Like, what the, you know, what the fuck am I doing here? And really what it was that my sophomore year, my folks put me in all the pre-AP and AP classes. So then they started asking like a little bit more of me. You know, the classes are a little bit smaller. So then, you know, they ask you to sort of show your personality a little bit more. I think it was really like English class too, you know, where they start asking you to sort of, you know, through your assignments, you know, show your personality more. And then people were just like, damn, like this motherfucker's actually kind of funny, you know, like he'd be writing this shit. So yeah, you know, I did gain like a little bit of popularity there. But then when I got to UT, you know, none of my friends really went to college, right? They were all just kind of like, you know, hipsters, skaters, that type of stuff. So nobody really went to college straight out of high school except for me and like my little friend group. And so, you know, I didn't really vibe with UT. It just, you know, especially living on the east side, you know, and then comparing that to campus, it just felt kind of fake, you know, like, especially when you're coming from the hip hop culture, it's like, okay, no one from UT has like really made it nationally. So it's like, why would I respect any of this? You know, like this isn't the audience that I'm trying to impress. You know, I'm trying to impress the people because, you know, where I was living on like East Riverside or like, you know, Rogge and Manor, it was very how we put it, very hard scrabble, you know. So it's like when you're out with, you know, people selling drugs and guns all day and partying with them, you know, it's just like these are the people whose opinion and whose aesthetic I want to be accepted by. Like the college kids, like it's cool to take their money, but it's like I don't really respect them, you know. Like their shit's not cool, their shit's not tough, they're not hipsters, so it's like why. So I didn't really vibe with any of that shit, you know. And then I would try to join like different you know, like student organizations, and I'll just be like, bro, y'all are all lame, like y'all are just regular people, y'all don't do shit. So yeah, that was pretty much the vibe that I was on in like high school and college.
So I want to go back to a thing that you said. You said that you got into making beats. I got to know a little bit more about that. Did that start back in high school? Because something tells me, I mean, I did some performances, but if you got a guy that makes beats, like that's the dude to be around because the party is always around that guy. When did the beat making start?
So basically what happened was one of the guys in our high school, he was a friend of my best friend, right? And so he had moved up to the north side around Anderson Mill. Yeah. And so then he started getting into like rapping and like making beats or whatever. And so, you know, he was Mexican and my best friend was half Mexican, half Paraguayan. So, you know, he basically roped my best friend in. And my best friend started like making beats, and the beats were all like, you know, sort of like FL Studio, like stock, you know, synth sounds, whatever, you know, kind of corny sounding, but you know, they're having fun, right? Yeah. And so he's doing that, and you know, at the time, I think we're straight out of high school, right? And so my friend, you know, he had gone to St. Ed's for a semester, but then he had dropped out, and so you know, he's kind of doing like the Austin hipster shit, just, you know, living at his dad's apartment on Riverside, just like smoking weed. You know, we're trying to figure out who can buy us beer, you know. And so he's, you know, doing this rapping, making beat stuff with his friend. And, you know, he starts getting me involved. You know, I'm a writer, so it's like I got bars, but my delivery is trash, right? And so I'm just like, you know, I was like, I feel like a lot of these rappers, like, or, you know, rap groups or whatever, I was like, I feel like I always read about them sampling like soul or jazz or funk or whatever. So I'm like, you know, we should try to download some and try to do that, you know? And so he did, and the beat started sounding really dope. I was like, damn. I was like, I just told him to do it, and he started doing it and killing it. I'm just like, damn, this shit is crazy. Like, this shit actually sounds dope. Like, this is before it was like kind of like a joke, right? It was just like us having fun, you know. But then it turned into like, obviously, you know, we're still trash as rappers, but now the beats are sounding all right. So I was like, yo, like, and so, you know, so then I'm just like, and at the time we're roommates, right? So I'm just like, man, I see this motherfucker just smoking weed all day, fucking playing video games and making these beats, and I'm just like, man, I want to learn how to do that. I'm like, this is cool, you know? So yeah, I just started watching everything that he started doing. We started downloading hella music and started making hella beats on FL Studio. And then, you know, I learned how to do it. And then I started doing it, but I started doing a little bit more than what he was doing, because he was just mostly just like looping, right? And then I started like filtering and chopping and shit like that. Because I was just like, you know, I was like, this is cool. So, you know, I started doing that, and this is when we're all living off Riverside and living off campus, I think. And so, you know, we just started amassing this catalog. And then my other friend who went to high school with us, you know, he was like a screamo type guy. But once he started seeing us making beats, his pops had recently passed, and so he had like a little bit of money from the inheritance, right? So he ends up buying MPC and starts making really dope beats as well. And so, you know, all three of us, we sort of click up, right? We were called the Think Dank, AKA, and, you know, since I was from, you know, my folks were from Pakistan, my homies' friends were from, you know, Paraguay and Mexico. And then our other homie who was white, his family was from Arkansas. So I was just like, well, shit, we also third world. Cause I was like, you know, you already know how it is in America, right? Arkansas is considered sort of like the armpit of America. So I was like, oh, you basically third world too, bro. Yeah. So we were like, you know, third world, you know, the Think Dank. That was like the name of our clique. And, you know, obviously the raps were trash, but our beats were dope. And so my homie, the white guy, he ends up, you know, because he has a little bit of money, he spends like $200 on like his MySpace website or whatever. So it looked all swanky, you know. And so he actually started getting some like, you know, some recognition from like local cats around town who were like, yo, your MySpace is ill, your beats are ill. You know, he was really on his shit. So yeah, that's how we started doing the music thing. And then, you know, and then eventually, you know, I stopped rapping because I was just like, it's like, once you hang around like actual rappers, it's just like, okay, well, I don't want to just straight up be worse than somebody or something. You know, like, I'd rather just not do it and just stick to what I'm good at. So yeah, that's where the beats came in, and that's really where a lot of people in Austin started noticing me was because of my beats.
So making beats and then becoming a DJ, how far apart are those two things?
Well, actually, you know, a lot of well-known producers started off as DJs that wanted to figure out how to make the music that they were spinning. Yeah. So for me, I kind of went backwards from what like a lot of old school cats did, right? A lot of old school cats were DJs. They want to figure out how to make the music on the records that they're spinning. So then, you know, they go read magazines or talk to people and figure out, okay, these are the machines I have to buy to make beats to sound like the stuff that I'm spinning. I was just like, you know, I wasn't a DJ at the time, you know, so I was just like, I'm just hearing shit and I was just like, I want to make music like this, right? So it's just like, and my friends were already making music. So, you know, once I saw them making music that I liked the beats for, you know, I learned how to do the shit. And then it wasn't really till later. And then the thing was too, is that being part of a rap group, you know, it was just like, and seeing sort of, you know, Austin's always had like a really strong DJ scene, you know, because we're a party town, you know, so, you know, we've got a lot of venues, you know, it's easy for DJs to pull up and play something and keep people entertained and, you know, dancing and drinking and spending money. So, you know, I never really wanted to be a DJ because I had so many friends who were such dope performance DJs, you know, with the scratching and beat matching and juggling and stuff like that. I was like, shit, I don't do that. I just make beats, you know. So the DJing thing kind of just was like, but also I was in a group with some rappers, you know. So at that point it was just like, okay, well, when our DJ doesn't show up, like I'll DJ. Like I got a computer, I can download virtual DJ and run the shit, you know. So then I became kind of like a DJ for whenever they were performing. And then once I fell in KZI, I was just like, well, I really already have experience doing like all this stuff. So for me to become a DJ in that sense is not really that crazy. But yeah, I mean, it really just all started with the music production. And then once I was in a group with a bunch of rappers, then, you know, I was around DJs so much that I kind of just picked up various tricks of the trade. I still don't consider myself a DJ, but I think a lot of people, you know, they just kind of are just like, you know, when you tell people what you do, they're just like a beat maker. Like, what's that? And I'm just like, oh, well, I DJ too. They're like, oh, he's a DJ. Or like if I give a mixtape of my group to somebody, they're just like, oh, he's a DJ. I'm like, not really. I mean, now to a more of an extent, you know, I do just like, yeah, whatever, you know. But back then, it used to fucking annoy me whenever I would give someone my mixtape and they would call me a DJ. I was like, I'm not a DJ. I made the beats. I'm not transitioning. I'm not yelling. Like, I'm not a DJ.
No, I always answer this for me, Haris.
Yeah.
Are DJs not good dancers? Stay with me now. Or do you guys just have the restraint of a Shaolin monk? Because the beats is fire. Everybody dancing. The spot is lit. Maybe because you good, but how y'all stay so stoic and just like, yo, I'm right here, son.
I mean, DJs that, you know, they dance and jig when they on stage. You know, I think especially females. I think it's more acceptable for females to be able to dance whenever they're DJing. Obviously, you have males that will do it too, right? But yeah, I mean, I think especially in hip hop too, it's like the culture is like you gotta just kind of like be a hard rock, you know, just like you said, just have the ear on and just, you know, kind of do this. But I feel like with the younger generation too, you know, their music is more like turn up style, you know, heavy hitting, aggressive type stuff. So they'll do like a little bit more dancing, I feel like. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just like you gotta just have such situational awareness and like analyze the situation and peep such small, you know, changes and stuff when you're a DJ that it's like if you're just dancing, moving around and stuff, it's easy to like lose track of that stuff.
Yeah.
I know for myself, you know, I'm like, I really don't dance at all. Like I'm the type to just like sit back in a corner and just like listen to shit, watch how different people react and interact with music. But again, that also comes from me not really doing anything in a club if I wasn't, you know, because I wasn't a DJ. So like, you know, I'm just posted up in the back being like, okay, how do I get people to act like this with my music? You know, like if it was like a melody or a rhythm or a certain, you know, drum sound or something that had people sort of reacting to that, you know, I'm sitting there just basically picking it apart, being like, okay, like what's really making people move to this and how can I, and a lot of that too comes from sampling, right? Because when you're sampling, you're basically just like stealing some hot shit that somebody else already made. So my mentality is always just like, okay, like what can I steal that really seems like it's leaving an emotional impact on its listeners, you know? And so once you isolate that, it's just like, okay, it's this particular set of notes, right? Or it's this rhythm that has everybody dancing, you know? So that's the type of shit that I pay attention to. But yeah, I mean, my personality is one of just like, you know, being withdrawn, you know, in a corner, not really getting down like that. There are definitely DJs that dance and move around like that. But I feel like that's more in like the EDM space a little bit more than like the hip hop space. That like hip-hop, you ain't got the motherfucker like, you know, Steve Aoki, he'd be like throwing cakes in the crowd and shit. So you really don't do that with hip hop DJs, you know?
Yeah, you're right. Call me DJ Urkel. I would drop something so hot. I'd be like, yo, did I do that? I'm telling you, I'm like, yo, y'all see that? Yo, I'd be dancing. I am a dancer though. So to your point, which means I probably, you know, I think it's also kind of what you indirectly said. It's like it's personality stuff. Like if you are a dancer, you don't spend that much time trying to be in one spot making those beats. I think like the dancers like me, because you can't, you know, you want to be out doing your thing versus the other people is like, yo, I got this. I could do this for y'all. And I can stay cool and mellow.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair question. How many big B-boys end up becoming DJs? You know, that's sort of an interesting question. That's something I would like to ask them for sure. You know, when you find a poppin' B-boy that's also a poppin' DJ, because the skill sets, like you said, you know, they're if you dancing and pop locking and doing the worm and the windmill and all that shit, you ain't got time to be fucking on the wheels of steel like that.
Nah. You'd be like, let me see if I can get these three to play in a row because I gotta go. I could beat that fool right there. Everybody think he hot.
That's when you get DJ Spotify in the mix. You get DJ Porter up on there. You're like, yeah, fuck this. I'm about to fucking just challenge someone to a battle real quick.
Yo, I'm gonna serve up these beats in your ass, fool. Hold on. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, that would definitely be embarrassing to lose in a DJ battle to someone who just starts fucking breakdancing and shit. You ain't coming back from that shit. Ain't no behind the back crosses or some shit like that. You're gonna have to do the most.
They done with you after that. Yo, I had heard that there was a guy from Austin. Probably nobody you know. They call him HQ.
Yeah.
He got pulled into going to Europe?
Yeah.
But wait. They snatching fools up out of Austin to go on tour in Europe with, a rapper, maybe from around the Buffalo parts. Yo, Tell us, brother, what was it like in Europe? Did it blow your mind?
Well, I mean, I'd already been on tour in Europe before. In 2018, myself and my homie Kid Jones, he had been booked for a show out in Paris. So we set up like a little Europe tour. We had a homegirl that was living out in Amsterdam. So we set up shows out there in the Netherlands too. So it was like 4 dates, I think, total for like 2 weeks or something like that. And it was really cool. It was my first time in Amsterdam, my first time touring in Europe. I'd actually gone to Paris for like a week, like way back, like a couple years out of high school, because one of my roommates at the time, he was like half French and he had like family over there and shit. So like, and then this time was just super crazy. Basically my friend Kendrick's from Denver. We had been in a group together, me, him, and Kid. And so he had met Conway like 5 years ago, like DJing for him in Denver and shooting content for him and stuff like that. And he didn't even tell him that he rapped for like 3 years. And then once Conway heard his music, he was just like, oh shit, like, we already have a relationship. We're already friends now. So like, if you want to get on any shows, like, I got you. And so then before South by of this year, March 1st, Conway had a show at Antone's. So Corey, or my homie Kendricks, he was on the lineup. So we chopped it up with Conway and his management, and we were just like, hey man, like because I've been telling Corey, I'm like, bro, we gotta do this Europe tour. Like that's gonna be crazy. Like, what I'm saying? Like, it's one thing to do a tour in the States, but it's like, we're from Austin. We know a lot of people that tour the States, but doing a tour in Europe, like that's just going to be a crazy look. And it's like, how many chances do you really have to do that?
Yep.
So, we talked to Con about it. Con was just like, well, he's like, I actually need a DJ. So if you're willing to DJ for me, then I'm down. We can do it. Cause he'd already had Corey DJ, or my homie Kendricks, his name's Corey Kendricks. So that's why I just call him Corey, but he'd actually he had DJ for Conway before out in Denver. So Conway was just like, all right, well, shit, like I already rock with you. I've already, seen you DJ for me. So he's just like, if y'all are down, then it's cool. And so I was just like, all right, well, because my homie Kendricks, he's a rapper too. So he was just like, all right, well, at first, he just wanted to open for Conway, but then he's just like, okay, well, Conway's now going to pay me and give me room and board to go on tour with them. So it's like, I ain't even got to go out of pocket really. So I was just like, all right, well, shit. I was like, I'll DJ for your set. I ain't tripping. That way you can just go out and interact with the crowd, not have to worry about, playing your songs and making sure that that's straight. So yeah, it was super cool, man. Got to see a lot more countries than just Amsterdam and France, the UK, Ireland, Slovenia, Greece. I'm sure I'm missing some country. Yeah, like Romania, Denmark. Yeah. So it was just super cool, and then also just, when we did the show in France last time, that was a really big show. But other than that, the shows like that we did in the Netherlands were more like intimate type shits, So it was just like going from that to like a situation where, you're directly associated with the headliner and everybody is like, every show is like 200 to 600 people. Like it was insane. It definitely gave me a better appreciation for like the scale of what Griselda has done, because they're basically like the new school Wu-Tang, I definitely got like crazy, like, okay, like this is what touring with Wu-Tang must have felt like back in the day, so it was really cool for sure. Conway's a really smart guy, really funny guy, and so I got the chance to pick his brain, just really about the music industry, and sort of like his experiences. So it was really cool. And then obviously just, you know, sightseeing and seeing the shit, you know, sometimes it gets tiring because you feel a little bit like a circus worker, you know, living out of a suitcase, going from destination to destination with all the travel stuff. It definitely gave me a better appreciation for, you know, what touring acts have to go through. But it was super cool. You know, I think as a musician, you're not just judged on the material that you release. You're also judged, you know, rightly or wrongly by how your tours are. Even though at the end of the day, tours are a lot more politics than releasing albums are, right? Because it's like you gotta find a place to perform at. You know, you gotta find multiple places to perform at, and you want people out there. So you have to link up with promoters, or you have to, you know, get on lineups. So, you know, especially in hip hop too, it's a lot jankier, right? Because like a lot of people, they try to do the pay to play type shit. You know, thankfully, you know, my friend had a relationship with Conway, so you know, it was a situation where he was getting paid to go on tour, which, you know, doesn't happen every day in hip hop, let alone in other art forms. So yeah, it was just super cool. You know, fucking the Europe shit was, and also too is just like, you know, is a lot of people is just like we get so used to doing shows in Austin because Austin is like a relatively poppin' city. That it becomes easy to forget that there's like a whole world outside.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was super cool.
No, I can identify with that. I lived in Europe for 3 years, and I played semi-pro football. But I remember in our locker rooms, man, like some music would come on, and some of them German boys, and we had more than Germans on my team. They knew 50 Cent lyrics. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't know that whole song. That dude did though. Franz knew it, and I was like,
no, I mean, it's definitely crazy because you start seeing that like how much people love American music, you know, and because like, you know, it becomes easy to become jaded when we're over here, and that's just like, you know, the native stuff. But it also gave me appreciation for how smart European people are, because they all have to understand 2 languages, right? Well, at least the people that don't speak English, right? Because they also, if you're in a big city, you have to learn English as well. So, you know, coming from like America, where it's like, shit, we live in Texas, and a lot of us, and myself included, don't even really know Spanish like that, you know, and then going to a situation where it's like, I'm communicating in somebody's like second language or whatever, you know, it gives you a better sense of humility to just be like, well, shit, like these motherfuckers coming out of pocket to learn this language just so they can talk to people like me, you know, and like, I definitely don't know their language, you know, so it's just like that shit was definitely crazy for sure. But yeah, I mean, you know, it was crazy because, you know, and it also was funny too, because like, you know, a lot of the openers that were like foreign, like, you know, rapping in their own language or whatever, you know, you kind of give them the benefit of the doubt because you're like, well, I really don't know what this person is saying. Maybe whatever they're saying is cool or, you know, deep.
But the crowd vibing though, right?
Yeah. But then when we went to Ireland, right, and the Irish rappers were spitting, I was like, oh, these motherfuckers trash, bro. I was just like, they should rap in Gaelic or something, because they rapping in English. I understand what they're saying. I'm like, these cats is not that nice.
Yeah. Yo, I want to stay on the tour just for a second.
Yeah.
And I want to ask the tour, and then I want to come back to Conway.
Yeah.
Yo, when you're on tour like that, how does Conway keep his stuff from being too wrinkled when you living out of a suitcase? Was he ironing every night, trying to get the creases out?
It was funny. He was just like, yeah, man. He's like, you know, I'm old school. He's like, I wash a lot of my shit in the tub. You know, like I was just like, oh yeah, that's smart. I was like, I didn't really think of that. And yeah, I mean, you know, he's definitely getting some clothing provided to him by different people who are trying to sponsor him, get, you know, notoriety for their brand. But yeah, you know, he was rocking some fresh shit for sure. So yeah, I mean, that's good. Well, but I mean, you also have your show fit, and then you've got your like everyday fit, right? So his show fits for the most part were different than his everyday fits. But yeah, you know, that's definitely, and also he had a lot of clothes. You know, he had a lot of luggage, and the luggage was just growing.
Oh, that's my guy. That's my guy.
Yeah. You know, me, it's just like, you know, I ain't getting all my shit paid for, so I'm showing up with like a backpack, like, you know, one bag. Yeah, and that, because the thing is, you know, I travel a lot, so it's just like, you know, I'm used to rolling like hella light, because it's like, okay, like I ain't really got money to Uber everywhere like that for all my life, so it's just like you know, if you trying to take the bus or the train or some shit like that, you really can't have like 5 different pieces of suitcases on you, you know. And then it's just like with the flights, you know what I'm saying? They charge you per carry-on, so that shit adds up. So yeah, like me, I just roll hell, and then, you know, I'll just buy my shit there. You know, that's what I did in London. Was I was just like, well, I'm gonna wait until the very last stop, and then I'm gonna buy new clothes. You know, like, because, you know, once we're in London, it's like, okay, all I have to do after this is fly home. So, and the thing is too, I'm always worried that like my shit's gonna get lost in flights or some shit like that. So I really don't take any clothes that I like on tour with me, because I'm just like so paranoid about losing my shit. So, you know, like, my friend was just like, man, where's all your drip? I was like, man, I left that shit at home. I'm not, this is good, bro. I'm not trying to fucking, if I really want to look cool, I'm gonna buy something here. Like, I'm not. Yeah. So yeah, I think Conway definitely he had a lot of drip though. I'm gonna say that.
Yo, Conway's from Buffalo. Have you ever been to Buffalo?
I've not. Okay. New York. My cousins live upstate in Rochester, but I've never been out there. So
I've been there. Let me tell you a little something then, and get your opinion. Yeah. It is cold, bro. It's so cold that the U.S. Army sends their people for cold weather training, not to Alaska. They send them right outside of Buffalo.
I mean, I've seen the pictures of the Buffalo Bills stadium.
Yo,
get cold and snowed. So
I gotta know then, if Conway say, yo man, come up in December. This is a 2-part question. Come up in December, come watch a game with me. And then the second thing is y'all tailgating, and he tell you to jump through the tables, because that's what they do up there in Buffalo. Are you going? And then if you go, are you gonna jump through a table?
I'm not a wrestler, so I don't know about this jumping. That explains why all these Buffalo cats love wrestling so much, because they all jumping through tables at the tailgates.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They take that table breaking seriously out there, bro. And but yo, they be out there, outdoor stadium. After all these years, they have not thought about a dome. They good. They good with it.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, because you want home team advantage, right? So it's like, all right, like, we used to training in this cold, the other team ain't. But yeah, I mean, I have heard. I mean, because the thing is, it's super close to Toronto too, right? And Toronto,
yes, sir. Yes, it is.
Horrific winters. So it doesn't surprise me that Buffalo also has horrific winters. But yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of not so great things about Buffalo, as far as like the local economy, to put it politely. So yeah, like, I mean, if it was like for something cool, I would go up there for sure. If Conway's just like, hey man, come hang out with me in Buffalo, I'd be like, you want to meet me halfway, bro? Like, we can go to Queens or Brooklyn or something.
Yeah, let's meet in the city.
I'd rather do the Bronx than Buffalo. Shit,
but yo, he gonna get mad though, man. You know, when you from up where he's from, and yo, they put it down to be from Buffalo. You know, you still get to say I'm from New York, but it ain't the city. And I know them city dudes give them hell sometimes because they ain't from the 5 boroughs. Yeah, for sure. But I'm gonna tell you this though, man. You might offend him. You might hit a little nerve there, and be like, "Come on, man! Everybody always giving us a hard time about." Buffalo.
But I mean, the thing is that, you know, the members of Griselda that are from Buffalo, they had to move to New York to make it, right? So I think they're extremely aware of the lack of economic opportunity in Buffalo, and you know, how you have to move to make it. Because I mean, even Conway, I feel like he probably lives in New York nowadays. You know, because the thing is too, is just like, you know, once you become successful, especially, you know, if you're from the quote unquote urban culture, right? What's the point of staying home? Like, all you do is just hang around people that don't really have stuff popping in their life, and that's why they're, you know, trying to leech off you. And you know, I think in Austin we have a lot. You know, Austin's a very chill city. You know, you can't really do a lot of criminal stuff for very long. And well, I mean, you can if you're of European descent, frankly, but if you're not, the leash is a lot shorter. You know, so I feel like in our hip hop scene, we don't necessarily have the same issues that they do in other cities. You know, I'm sure there'll be a point one day where a big hip hop artist gets big enough to the point that, you know, that's from Austin, where somebody from Austin tries to kill him or whatever. But we haven't gotten to the point yet. And I feel like also the thing is too, is that in Austin, we see each other all the time downtown, you know? So it's like, beef here is kind of different than other cities because it doesn't really last very long. Because the thing is, everyone's got to pretend to be friendly because otherwise you're just going to be fighting every time you go downtown, or you're going to be hiding every time you go downtown. You know, I feel like people here, we don't really have like a culture of like big chains and stuff like that because that's just going to get snatched on 6th Street or in the club, you know? Yeah. So I feel like, you know, our culture here is like a little bit different than other cities. And maybe that's part of the reason why, you know, we don't really have rappers that blow up here is because we're so different and the culture is so different that it doesn't really translate, you know?
Yo, speaking of beefs, you know, that's hot right now. So we got to talk about that right quick. Yo, DQ, I just merged their names. HQ is beefing with King Donato. What's off the books, man? What are you not going to say about me? Where would you not go? You going to leave my kids out of it? Or is it all on the table, including my grandma? What you doing, man? Where's the limits with you?
If I was a rapper, well, I mean, just from my roasting personality, like, yeah, man, I'm a roast somebody. I mean, obviously, you know, you try to be polite, right? You know, try to be friendly or cordial. But if it's like a real beef and I really genuinely don't like you, like, yeah, I'm gonna roast everybody, bro. Don't let me know the name of your dead grandma because that bitch got everybody twice and back. Don't like. I mean, the thing is, I'm also a little bit more respectful now than I was when I was younger. Because like when I was younger, I would have been foul. I would have been telling you like your kid's about to get kidnapped by pedophiles and shit. Like, all wrong. It would have been like on some grave diggers type shit, you know. Like, because I used to listen to Big L, and Big L would have so many crazy lines.
No doubt.
You know, raping people and giving them AIDS and shit like that. So it's just like, you know, like motherfuckers would be saying some foul shit. So it's just like, you know, I think now we try to be a little bit more politically correct now. Right?
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff is off limits now. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the Drake Kendrick Lamar beef, like they really didn't say anything that we didn't know about the other person.
Nah,
you know?
They didn't.
Like,
they didn't.
It was like because Drake was just like, oh, Kendrick is short. I gave Kendrick his first #1 single, you know, and Kendrick was just like, Drake hangs out with, you know, sex traffickers and Drake likes fucking 16-year-olds. And it's like, well, if you watch the news, you already kind of know all that stuff, you know.
Yep.
Maybe I guess the you know the casual fan, you know, maybe might not know all the background stuff about people, but that was stuff that's like, you know, been out in the open for years. So, you know, it was an amusing back and forth, but I didn't really feel like. And also too, you know, one comment that people have made online that I thought was interesting, and they're like, oh, hip hop is dead. This is all just like gossip, right? But it's like, even when we look at Tupac and you know, with Hit 'Em Up, he was just talking about fucking Biggie's bitch, right? Like that was like the big shot he sent. You know, otherwise it was just like, yeah, fuck you, fuck, you know, Diddy, yada yada, whoopie whoop. But it's like that was like the main shit was he said like, yeah, you know, I fucked your bitch, you know. So it's like that's kind of gossip too at the end of the day, you know. So it's like what you know, Drake is a womanizer, so he legitimately has, you know, gotten with a lot of rappers, you know, chicks or you know, side chicks or ex chicks or whatever. That's legitimately why a lot of people harbor resentment towards him. So I'm not putting him in the Tupac situation in here, but you know, it's just like, you know, he's the guy that all the chicks love, so you know, they all gonna try to get with him, and that's gonna cause tension. Although I don't know if that was the source of the tension between him and Kendrick, but yeah.
Yo, that's exactly what I thought. It's funny you say that. I was on the radio the other day, and I came up with the question to ask. Someone else came up with the question and said, you know, what song do you hate? And I used that Tupac Hit 'Em Up. I'm an East Coast dude. You know, I'm parents are from New York. You spend time there. I'm a Mid-Atlantic dude, and nah, bro, you can't be coming for the whole East Coast. That's like all my kin. And you from the
East Coast too.
Yeah, dude, you Baltimore, and we keep being reminded of that by this girl that's still in love with you, Jada Pinkett Smith.
Facts.
Keep talking about when y'all was in Baltimore together, and then yo, my wife is from California, and the longest place I've ever lived in my life as an adult was Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, matter of fact, my motorcycle club, this LA swag right here, but I'm not from Cali. My wife will remind me of that sometimes. I be feeling myself that I'm California. She's like, dog, you ain't Cali. So then, how you move out there and all of a sudden you West Coast? You come on, Tupac. Come on.
Yeah, man. I mean, what's crazy was he had lived in the Bay before that, right? And I feel like the Bay definitely, because the thing is, the Bay Area, they don't really have the same culture. They're not, especially back then, they weren't used to outsiders coming in and claiming the Bay Area as their own.
Right.
Because of the tech scene, that happens a lot more. But before that, that didn't really happen. So I feel like, them really accepting Tupac made him feel like, okay, I'm from California. Like the Bay fucks with me. Like, I'm from the Bay, because I used to think about that a lot when I lived out there, because, they would always be like, man, because they're going through a lot of gentrification stuff with the tech shit, right? So they'd be like, man, fuck all these outsiders. If you're not from the Bay, fuck you, and I would be like, damn, like, how come we don't have that same mentality in Austin? Like in Austin, we invite these motherfuckers to move in and we grumble about
East side, fool, you ain't from East side.
Yeah,
they don't do that.
In Austin, we hella friendly and shit. Like I was like, they're really not friendly with the shit. They mad,
So. Yo, Harris, I'm glad you said that because you a Texas dude, but I be saying that whenever I come across one of your peoples. Because I ain't Texas, but when I meet your peoples and they start talking about the gentrification or all of us outsiders that move here, I'll be like, son, first of all, you shouldn't have left the door open and then people wouldn't walk in. And second of all, you're making it too much fun. I mean, really? I mean, I say that to get under their skin and be like, man, ain't nothing you can do about it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I feel like what it was too with the Bay was that like in LA, because of the entertainment industry, they're used to outsiders coming in.
Yes.
Like, that's been happening for at this point generations, right? But with the tech stuff, that all happened within like the last 20 or 30 years. So before that, people weren't, and with Austin, we're like a college town and like a capital city of a state, right? So like the way that people would come in here is like they would come in for the university and then after 4 years they leave, right? Or, they come in for the state, the legislature or whatever. They come in for their little thing and then they leave, you know what I'm saying? Or they come in because they're governor and then they leave when they're not elected, right? So we didn't really have people moving here to stay here the whole, for years or whatever. Yeah. So once it started happening with the tech shit, it was just like, oh shit, we're really not used to this. Like, this is different, like before all the university students, they want to live near the university, right? Or like all the political type people, they want to live near the Capitol. Now the shit's changed. People just want a place to live. So now they're coming on the east side or the south side or the north side or whatever. So it changed the dynamic of the city. And so when I moved out to the Bay, I saw the same thing happening, but at a way faster rate because, the tech scene there was so crazy. It was just like, they taking over everything. And these Bay Area people ain't used to it, because the thing is, like, that's what they do in LA. In LA, everybody moves there from everywhere in the country or the world trying to make it in Hollywood or entertainment or whatever. Nobody was doing that to the Bay. So then once the tech shit came in, nobody was ready for it and everybody just got fucked up. And because that's not really the culture of the place, they were just like, man, fuck this shit, Whereas in Austin, it's like everybody's so used to being friendly, Southern, whatever, that we're just like, oh, shucks, hey, neighbor, whatever. And then by the time you know it, ain't nobody saying, hey, neighbor to anybody no more because no one's lived there for more than 3 years. So then it's just like, all right, well, nobody knows nobody. Like, fucking, what are you even supposed to do now? So the dynamic is definitely weird in Austin, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of the stuff that's there is still culturally similar. So it's just like, all right, fuck it, gotta still rock with it.
Harris, this was fun. This was exactly what I thought, man. We did an hour already. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna edit. See what the editing looks like. But how do people stay in touch, follow? Maybe sometimes you dropping some beats, you doing some things. How can they keep up on all that? How do they follow and see what HQ is getting into? I'm gonna make that stick. I don't know if anybody uses it, but how do we stay up with Q Dog? Oh dang, man. H-Town. There's a lot that could go on with your name, man.
No, for sure. I don't know if you've been to Houston a lot, but there's this part of Houston that's like very South Asian. It's called Hillcroft. So I want to try to get popping in Houston so I can go by Hillcroft Harris, but that's still in the works. That's still in the works. We still got a lot of work to do to take over Harris County, which is where Houston's at. But I mean, obviously, big shout out to KZI. You can catch me every Monday and Tuesday on 88.7, 7:30 to 10 a.m. Co-hosting the morning show. Definitely follow the radio station on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all that shit, because I'll be checking that shit. And yeah, as far as like my personal stuff, just my government name on Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram, Trill Packy. Funny story about that. My nickname in high school was actually Haris the Terrorist, because I used to wear all black. And it was like right after 9/11, it was the country and shit. Part of the reason why I don't really rock with the people of European descent, is those experiences out there. Yeah. But I stopped going by Haris the Terrorist because I had a public defendant call me one time when I had some minor weed charge or whatever in college. And he was like, hey man, are you Haris Qureshi? I was like, yeah. He's like, do you go by Haris the Terrorist? I was like, who is this? And he was just like, oh man, this is your public defendant, bro. He's like, I love the name. My homie represented Devin the Dude on a weed charge. Don't worry, you're good. Half the judges in Austin smoke weed anyways. I was like, I'm not taking this name, bro. I was like, I can't go. I was like, if this public defendant knows that I'm Haris the Terrorist, I was like, I definitely know I'm Haris the Terrorist. So yeah. That's why I started trying to change my name. I went by Young Allah for a little bit because I was a big New York hip hop fan, and so like the 5% Nation of God Earths and shit. That was something that I helped with. But then the problem was, I'd be trying to work with Muslims and shit from my parents' homeland, and they would just be like, "Fam, your name is like mad blasphemous. Like we can't work with you." I was like, I'm trying to explain to them like, "Fam, this is hip hop. Like this is what you talking about." But they didn't really get it. So then I had to find something else that worked. And my homie from San Antonio, who taught me how to make beats, he came up with the name Trill Packy. And I was like, you know what? I like that. I was like, someone's got to have it. And I looked it up and no one really had it. So I've been using that as my social media handle for a while. TRILLPAKI. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. Trying to get on TikTok more. If y'all are on TikTok, follow the station on TikTok, kzi.the.voice, I think. And or you can just see me in the streets. And I write for the Austin Chronicle too, so they can keep up with me that way too.
Yo, Haris, this was awesome, my man. We gotta have you back. There's so many things that I would like to do. We can bring you back. There's some forums I want to do.
Right.
I'd love to do one and just talk to locals because I want to go a little bit deeper into how the city's changed, gentrification, Round Rock. I know when I moved here, one of my good friends is from Round Rock. She was like, "Yo, when I lived there, it wasn't nothing but farm cow pastures and whatnot."
Bro.
So she was telling me what it used to be, and I see what it looks like now, and I can't even imagine what she was talking about. But
I mean, now downtown Round Rock's like relatively popping. Before nobody. You said, "Yeah, I'm going to downtown Round Rock." Motherfuckers look at you like you're crazy. Now it's like, oh, okay, yeah, like that's a nightlife destination now. So it's crazy to see how the metro has grown for sure.
Yo, there's a spot over there. If for the culture, bros, if you need a cut, there's a homie over there. I went and got a nice cut before I started cutting it all off. When I first moved here, I used to go to this dude and I was like, Round Rock. I thought somebody was gonna send me to Austin,
right?
Because I live up north, but they was like, nah, yo, check this dude out in Round Rock. He nice.
Yeah.
The spot was nice.
Man, Round Rock and Pflugerville, they're arguably some of the most diverse parts of the Austin Metro now, for sure. Yeah, coming up. Definitely coming up. I mean, I was in Pflugerville the other day, and I have Nigerian descent, and Nigerian restaurant out in that spot. And I'm like, what? Yeah. Yo, we doing it out here. Yeah. So I was excited. But, yo, thank you, Brother Q. This was fun for me. Enjoy the rest of your day, and everybody follow, support Mr. Qureshi. And if you don't, hey, that's just you missing out, people. That's you missing out. That's on that, man. We gonna keep doing what we're doing. So they can either get hip with it now or get hip later.
No doubt. That's it. And then you just late to the party at that point. You gotta have that.
There's only so many times you can be fashionably late. You know what I'm saying? So, we go wait for them to see how they react.
God, man. Yo, have a good one, man. Thanks.